Hi, this is Jeff White with Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. Today I want to talk a little bit more about the chakra systems and the three Dantians. So we started with the root chakra and lower Dantian, and now we'll come to the sacral chakra, which, the root chakra is at the base of the spine. The sacral chakra is going to be about 2 inches below the navel, but still associated around the spine. The lower dantian, as we've mentioned, is about 2 to 3 inches below the navel and more towards the center of the body, the pelvic cavity. They are so one, as we mentioned, the chakra system. Its philosophical underpinnings come from yogic or tantric philosophies, more Indian Ayurvedic. The qi comes more from traditional Chinese medicine and its philosophies. And so in some cases there are a lot of similarities, and in some cases there are some differences. I've always looked at this as I look to synchronize and harmonize between the two philosophies. It's a little bit like quantum physics. When you look at something, if you expect to see a wave, you see a wave. If you expect to see a particle, you see a particle. So what you're trained to look at this is how it will appear. If you are trained to look at both and accept both, then you can find some ways that you can assimilate those ideas and those concepts together. What's interesting is the Sanskrit name for the sacral chakra actually means one's own abode, which I think is very telling. In that, as we've come to find out, the vagus nerve that starts and runs down along the spine, goes into the gut, is also called the second brain. It's also where there's so much information that is sent to the brain from your gut, essentially, and from your abdomen. And in traditional Chinese medicine, the qi is considered to be, that's the sea of qi. It's the storage for original qi. It is where we store that which we started out with our essence, and as we take in energy and refine it and be able to use it, that is where it's stored. They both speak to a water element, by the way, which is also good. Although, as I think I mentioned, with the chakra, it's more about flow and release, and with lower dantian and qi in Chinese theory, is more about containment and refinement. But both of them also align with water energy as well. There are some differences. We won't get into a lot of the differences between the two in terms of like planetary correspondence and sense organs, because it just isn't. It's not educational for our conversation here. It doesn't lead to edification. But the psychological themes behind the chakras is going to be emotional, sensuality, creativity. With pleasure, it deals with relationships, with adaptability. Um, the physiological associations can be with the kidneys, hence the water, the bladder, lower intestines, fluid regulations, reproductive organs. It is considered to be more yin, um, and also a seat of intuition, is what in the West we're finding out as well. Now, the function of sacral chakra it governs the flow of creative energy. So when you are in touch with it, it's allowed to open, and you've done, remember, just because you focus on a chakra does not mean you have these amazing transformations without any work to do on your part. It simply is where we store certain types of information, certain types of emotions and repressions, and when we begin to loosen that and let that energy flow, we look for those blocks, and those blocks are things that we've repressed, that we've kept away, that we didn't want to deal with. And so we're still going to need to deal with those. And as we do, then it opens up the flow of that energy, and we can experience a more grounded, a more holistic and harmonizing sense of being. So that's why it becomes important to do these. I have meditations where I will focus on each of the chakras, and I have some where I focus on the dantians. And I'm intentional about it, and it just depends on what it is that I'm looking at strengthening within inside me. So we look at the functions. The sacral chakra is going to govern the flow of creative energy. It leads to healthy emotional boundaries. It helps support your desires and ability to see where you need healthy emotional boundaries and where you want to enact those. It also ties to the ability to experience pleasure and connect authentically with others. Because if you move from your lower dantian, if you move from your sacral chakra, and you're focused on that, you're moving with relationships, and you are in relationship with everything, whether it's individuals, whether it's an experience, with anything that you encounter, you actually establish some type of relationship and perspective with that. Now, typically with relationships, we think more about the individuals and people that are around us, and this is a way to be able to engage with them authentically rather than putting up roles and letting our ego take control. We want to speak, we want to talk from our spirit, from the deepest areas of our being, and that's what this allows us to do. So it also helps in that sacral chakra to transformation, to transform raw energy into creative or spiritual expression. So when balanced, you feel emotional, but yet open and grounded. You feel creative, you feel intimately connected to life. When you're blocked, or when it's overactive and it's in a not a healthy situation, then you may experience guilt, emotional instability, numbness, or even addictive behavior. So we want to be able to access that energy, harness the energy, but access and balance that energy. And meditation is one of the biggest, best ways of doing that. Just to focus on that area about 2 inches below your navel. Now you can visualize an orange light, which is the light that's assigned to it, associated with it through the yogic philosophy. Deep, rhythmic, diaphragmatic breathing also moves energy through the pelvis. There are mantras if you're into that, but any kind of movement that opens the hips and moves, that focuses on this lower area. So you're looking at the hips and stretching muscles in the hips and the psoas muscles. Those kinds of things, whether you're dealing with lower dantian or sacral chakra or both, will also help to support those endeavors as well. So anything that deals with music and sensual movement is going to be part of that sacral chakra as well. And you can also find emotional release through journaling, therapy, self-inquiry, all those kinds of things. But what you're looking for is dealing with some of the shadow elements that you want to find. In each area, so if you're looking at chakras where you find resistance, you find tension, that it means that something is blocked, and usually that's a repressed memory. That is an experience we didn't want to deal with. It was an emotion that we didn't want to deal with, so we pushed it away. Well, it doesn't go anywhere. It still stays with us, and so we need to be able to deal with that. And so this gives us that opportunity. Now, the lower dantian, as I mentioned, is in about the same position, 2 to 3 inches below the navel, and a little farther back, center of the body is where it's thought. It is the energetic center of gravity. Now, this comes from more Chinese and Taoist thought, and the dantian literally means elixir field. So in the Taoist internal alchemy side of things, it's the cauldron where Jing, where your essence, that's your original essence, is refined into Qi, which is vital energy, and then later into Shen, which is spirit. As we've discussed, I have a slightly different take because we are spirits, we have a soul, we live in a body, but the word spirit gets used for a lot of different ways. And we'll discuss more of that, especially as we get into the higher chakras. So the 3 dantian centers we've mentioned, you have the lower, which is right about from navel on down. You have right around your heart, upper torso, so say from your chest to top of your abdomen is the middle dantian, and then the upper dantian is typically going to be third eye and crown chakra as well. It also shares, as I mentioned, with earth and water elements. So The earth element being the root, water being the sacral chakra or the lower Dantian. So it speaks to foundations, it speaks to fertility and storage. And in the Taoist thinking, that is truly the storage and cultivation of life force is where that happens. The kidneys that associate with kidneys, reproductive organs, digestive systems, etc. But its energetic role is one of vitality. It's one of stability. It's one of balance and grounded awareness. So it is the root of life in terms of Taoist thought. So how can you develop this? Qigong is a great way. Tai Chi is also a good way, but slow, mindful movements that are directing breath and intention lower down to the end is a great way of strengthening and building that up. The abdominal breathing, the belly breathing, the diaphragmatic breathing, once again, hugely beneficial. Meditation, concentrating your awareness on the lower abdomen so you can develop the sense of stillness, warmth, and internal power. Incredibly effective. There's the microcosmic orbit that we have taught, where on the in-breath, you're breathing up and leading Qi up your spine, over the top of your head. The exhale, you're pulling up on your perineum, and you're letting that energy continue down the front as it connects. And that's the microscopic orbit. Small circulation is what it's also called. And also with this, the preservation of Jing, moderating things like sexual activity, nourishing the body, conserving life energy, are all ways of building Qi. So the Dantian is cultivated. So when it's stable, then the person is going to be calm and have a centered presence. They're going to have a strong sense of vitality. You have emotional equilibrium and a sense of internal power and quiet confidence. So now if we compare the two, as we mentioned, the chakra system comes from yoga, tantric, Ayurvedic. The idea of lower Dantian is from Chinese Taoism. The location is very similar. They both deal with water, and the chakra is water, emotional, sensuality, creativity, where lower Dantian is Qi, vitality, and essence, or Jing. Core functions for sacral chakra: flow, pleasure, expression. Core functions for lower Dantian: storage, stability, cultivation. So with the energy polarity, we look at sacral chakras being feminine, so it's yin, it's expressive, but with lower Dantian, it's neutral, it's foundational. Okay. The main practice is both are going to be breathing. Sacral chakra, more visualization, more emotional release, more creative flow. It requires doing a little more work for journaling, shadow work. The goal in lower Dantian, more eternal power, longevity, spiritual refinement. So when balanced, you have emotional fluidity, sensual confidence, grounded vitality, and calm presence. So while the chakra deals with flow and release, the harmonizing of creative and emotional expression, the lower Dantian deals with containment and refinement, consolidating, transforming life force into higher states. So with this sacral chakra, you could say it teaches us to flow like water, and with lower Dantian, it teaches us to store and condense that water into an elixir. In spiritual synthesis, then a number of modern energy practitioners have found that opening the sacral chakra enhances emotional and creative flow, cultivating lower Dantian provides stability. So when they're harmonized both together, then the energy moves freely yet with structure. So it's a perfect balance then of yin and yang. You have flow, but you also comes from a foundation of structure as well. So now it's something that can be focused and harnessed. And for me, one of the keys of Qigong is you become aware of the energy that is you and is in your body, but then you learn how to harness it. First, you have to become aware of it. Then you learn how to harness it and use it in your daily life, as well as, if you're into martial arts activities, into your martial arts. But more importantly, and the reason I teach this is not as much for the martial as the day-to-day living. So I hope you find this helpful. Feel free to ask any questions. Email me at lifeandlivingnow@gmail, and we will address it either both through email, or I may do a video on it as well. You are welcome to join. We have an online Qigong class that meets, right now it meets Sundays at 4 Mountain Time, so that's 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 Central. You can figure out the rest. And all you need to do is go to LifeandLivingNow@gmail and just request a link. And then when I set up the links on the weekends, I will send them to you, and you can join us. It's free of charge. We do it just as a benefit. Thank you, and have a great day. This is Jeff White with Life and Living Now and Versal Fighting Arts.